Hello, everybody. It's Philipp Druzhinin from Moscow, Russia, and Dustin Kirby from USA. Uh, I always forget what city you're from.
Buffalo.
Exactly. I was thought
How dare you?
Pennsylvania and New York were democratic states, but this year Pennsylvania became a swing state, and it's still not ongoing. How it's going over there? Have you seen any patriotic, people trying to express patriotic opinion, try to riot or something? I don't know.
Honestly, Philip, not
Yeah,
much in Buffalo. We're kind of
not much.
I'm kind of on the outskirts of an outskirt city. I'm not anywhere near the city center. Not that
So you
Buffalo.
suburbia, right?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm still within the city limits. In Buffalo. Like I'm literally actually where I am is like pretty much the most like outer limit you can get of the city of Buffalo. So I don't really notice anything different other than people wearing masks all over the place, and certain stores are remanded you have to wear it, but I don't. What I do is, this might help people out. I wear a bandana around my neck, and it's a pretty good decoy. And I just mind my own business, and I'll drive my wife to the store, and she'll go in and stuff. She doesn't mind wearing it. I don't agree with it, but we're working on that. But as far as protesting or anything like that politically, no. I have my
nobody is
American
actually igniting anything, right? Okay.
Not at all.
We're just in the middle of so-called the period of a transition, right? So we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Today we wanted to talk about recent facts that were presented by Dustin in his video about Turks, Tartars, Russians, who have a connection, and the interesting information that was in there, and maybe some information that could be interested by you. And also, guys, you might as well ask questions, and we're gonna go through your questions after we're done with this topic. Okay, so let's just can you present that dictionary that you were presenting before?
Absolutely. Okay, so this is
the screen share of that dictionary that you were presenting about Tartars, all those,
Yeah, let me see if I could find that right quick. Of course. You still got me on screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, did you I couldn't help but notice you said facts. I'm just making posits here, or I'm proposing. I don't know if it's all facts.
It's just the language barrier. I want to say something, and it's really late today. Of course, it's like I'm
How
already.
dare you? I'm not making any claims or.
My brain is not working as good as yours right now, so just correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just busting chops here. Hold on one second. I got all these pictures, and I'm pretty sure I do have it in my bank. I don't want to show previews for my I'm not sure if I have it available right now, Philip. But anyway, it's in my last video, and I'll read it out loud here. I'll read it.
Thanks for everyone who left Tartarian Meltdown's live stream and came to our stream, guys. That's really good news that somebody left it for us.
I did not say that. Okay, so Tartar. It says Tartar, Turk, Cossack, Khanate, Khan, Ulan, Mirza.
Yeah, can you screen share that? So everybody
I'm trying to find a picture of it, and I don't have a picture of it.
Well, I'll just open your video that I've seen lately and just try to find that screen.
Okay, yeah, you can do in the actual video itself. Yeah. So yeah, I was just making a general assumption, or just like a theory, that there was a trading hub civilization in it, and it stems from what I've seen in this book. Now, yeah, I'll say it out loud. It's the New Practical Dictionary for Crossword Puzzles, compiled by Frank Eaton Newman. My grandfather liked reading a lot of different books. He liked reading newspapers, and he liked doing the crossword puzzles. So I presume that's why he had this book in his collection. So in the course of going through it, and I just wanted to see if they had Tartar in the back in the definitions, and lo and behold, it certainly did. Not only did it have the definition, but it had all those different subsets of names. So then in my head, I'm thinking I'm linking together Khan with Cossack. So
Okay, can you see what I'm sharing
1953.
right
Let's
now?
see. Yes, exactly. That's it. I can see that.
But it's probably not that good. Let's see. Now better?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So yeah, you got
Okay,
Tartar.
what we see, this is the dictionary of 1953 edition.
1953. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the period when everything was already, kind of edited, I would say, because, it's already two wars, at least two major wars in the previously 20-year wars and so on, and civil wars, and everything passed, right? So definitely this information was edited a couple of numerous times from the beginning of 19th century. So the Tartary disappeared in the beginning of 19th century from the maps, right? And then this legend came out that it's all connected, like Tatar and Turks, popped out of nowhere, I would say, because Tatars were never Tatars. They were Bulgars on all those maps before. And, Bulgaria is it's also the country, and those Volga Bulgars that we right now call Tatars. And I was also talking about Azerbaijan, and they've been called Caucasian Tatars. They were Crimean Tatars, Caucasian Tatars, and Volga Tatars. But Volga is actually Bulgars. So Bulgars is the huge country that was actually on the maps. And
Interesting.
if you go to Bulgaria, you probably find so many ancient artifacts, as much as in Turkey. So this is the same civilization, I would say, and you're right about that. But Tartary has no connection to, actually the Cossacks. Cossacks are the border troops. This is the troop. Horsemen. It's called horsemen. Yes, Cossacks are horsemen. And Ulan also horsemen. So there was also hussars. If you know these horsemen definition, they were presented in large numbers in the French army. Hussars were in the Russian army, in many armies. Hussars is just one of the most powerful striking force as the Ulans. So this is just the same of type of elite horsemen.
Elite.
Which elite, yeah, they were using spears also in attack, even when the rifles were available. So, and that's the Cossacks also were using swords, and how do you call it, fencing swords, even during World War II. Just imagine they were using swords in World War II, and they were very effective because they used horses during attacks, and they were stealth, and they could crouch like a ninja, I would say. And so just a bunch of troops. This all this listed here. Cossacks. Hans is just a military duke of military elite person. Hanat is a land of Han. And I think Khan is connected to kin, actually, because kin is Konun in Viking tradition. There were you probably been mentioning Vikings in this video also. So this is what is all connected to Konun. Kin, Khan is just a military elite person, right? Who is assigned by the emperor or the Tsar or whatever you call it, Caesar, same as Tsar, assigned to go somewhere and lead the troops, lead those horsemen and hussars and ulans. Mirza is a civil nobleman, actually, in Turk tradition. And this is all, why is all combined in this dictionary? Because it all connected to what they were trying to promote, this narrative that is all the Tartars are Tatars. Tartary is the mining huge wasteland, because you have Tartary in China, you have Tartary independent on several maps, you have Siberian, Russian Tartary, and so on. So everybody's having Tartaries. Each and everyone has each little Tartary. So Tartary is just
sauce for
huge
sauce for
wasteland.
everybody.
Yeah. So, and we see a bunch of evidence of mining and all these trades. Where the trade come from the source of, you know, products, right? Where you can easily produce and take the resources to produce for some production. For example, juveler production, you know, all this jewelry and gold, and that's why we have all these Khazars everywhere. Everywhere the trade goes and the gold goes, you have these, you know, jewelry people that are trying to make jewelry and different precious things like stones and all this stuff, and diamonds and, you know, rubies and everything. Everything comes from the ground and it's been mined before, right? So somebody took it from the, you know, all this Tartarus. Tartarus is Hades. Hades is Shadowland. Shadowland is what is actually beneath the ground, and that's where the miners go and find their resources, right? So this is definitely has the connection, but this narrative already is edited and brings us to the information that all those local people, like Turks, you know, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Indians, Chinese, Russians, Belarusians, everybody is connected, but actually not. They were just local indigenous aborigines, right? They didn't have any technology before all those miners came, right? And this is what was written in each and every legend and myth. When somebody actually was waiting for some godlike people that gave them something that would actually, you know, brought them light and knowledge and information and everything. So that was I was trying to say. So it's just, you know, the cargo code traditions of the local people that wanted to bring as much fame to their bloodlines and bringing them those royal legends and mythology that's probably stolen from other, you know, nations. And that's why we have a repeating of different legends, because they were stolen from somebody else who told them before. So how it all happened. And for my research and the research of other people in Russia and many more, we have this, you know, language that was used before, the pre-thought language, I would say. And it's so connected in the language group that everybody right now calling the Indo-European language group, right? And the people, for example, this race of people, the Indo-European race, is called Caucasian race. I don't know why. Probably because Caucasus Mountains there. And the Ural Mountains. Yeah, Caucasus Mountains is right there, near the Turkey and between the Turkey and Russia. And Persia. And Persia is a huge place of discoveries. Iraq, Iran. Everybody, you know, knows there's a bunch of archaeological sites, and probably one of the ancient city, the Urus, is, you know, similar to the name of Ural Mountains, which Ura is the military, you know, call of Russian troops from the, I don't know what age. So everybody was saying Ura, and they ran and attacked. So Ur is Ural Mountains and many more toponyms in Russia that consist of Ur and so on. And culture is the cult of Ur. Culture.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've heard you say that before.
This all just connected to this Ur and ancient tradition of Tartars. They were mining something, you know, they're just helping those people with technology and establishing the trade routes. And you were right about Silk Way, because China's right now promoting all this new Silk Way information, and China's just trying to pull this Tartar blanket on themselves and claiming themselves they don't even care about Mongolians anymore. They just trying to say that they were Mongolians, and yes, we were screwed by Mongolians, but we were second after Mongolians, and we remained one of the greatest empire after Mongolians. It's just, you know, in Indians want to do that. You know, Indians are glad right now Kamala Harris won. type of one projected winner of vice presidency, and they're happy of that somebody will help them in their ancient traditions. Of course, they were screwed by British and this East Indo-European company that you're talking about, and the Afghanistan opium that was transferred to China. And yes, they screwed were a lot. That all this stuff happened after 17th century, and what was before that is just a whole, field of speculation that we can talk about, and even go way back to Phoenicians. All this information about Phoenicians, all those evil Phoenicians that somebody claimed to be so evil. It's just like, claiming Russians or Tatars, I don't know, to be the most evilest people in the world. But they were actually just the first guys who invented alphabet, and that's it. That's all we know about Phoenicians, actually.
Allegedly.
That's it. Other things are just speculation. Somebody say they founded Carthage. Somebody say they founded Sicily. Somebody said they found Venice. But if you go to Venice, nobody in Venice knows that anybody from Phoenician lands came to Venice anywhere. So all they know that they were Venetians, which is Eastern Slavic tribe of Venetis. Those local Serbian people, the people from Yugoslavia, they were severely bombed by the United States and allies in the early 1990s, right? And these are Venetians and Venetians and the of course, Etruscan people that were found, that the official claim to be founders of the pre-Roman civilization that existed in Italy, also have the connection to those Venetians and Etrurians. And the Etrurians right now live in Ukraine, that country that was occupied by the Russian aggression. So everybody is connected to this.
Is that near the Crimea area? Crimean?
It's all the same. The Crimea was actually called Taurus. You have the Taurus Mountains in Turkey. I was saying about it in one of the last videos about Turkey. And you were talking about Tartuga. Tartuga is a pirate haven in Caribbean.
Or Tortusa.
Tartusa, and right now is Russian air naval base. Tartus.
Very interesting. I'll bet it is their naval base. Yeah.
It's tar is the what you stock up of the mine, once you stock up the mine and resources and pack them in some, package.
Gotcha.
It's Tara, actually.
Or the chat piles in Pitcher, Oklahoma. The stuff that's left over, that stuff that piles up. I know what you're saying there. It piles up. Yeah, and it could be the mountains. I certainly take that. Yeah, like it's all mining chat piles, CHAT. And I want to discern or make it.
Some Canadians and Newfoundland are descendants of Vikings. Perhaps, why not, guys? Because all we know about Vikings, they were first ones to sail to Northern America.
Yeah, they definitely found Viking settlements in Newfoundland or up in Nova Scotia area, Canada.
But what I was, learning about Vikings is like this theory about 6 kin. So, like it's a abbreviation of 6, Roman 6, and kin. So, I don't know. Maybe it's bullshit, but somebody thinks it's a really good idea about that. So, because nobody in Sweden is actually using this term of Vikings, they were using as, warriors. I would say it's better to use this term as warriors, not just sailors or something. But who knows, actually, because what you were trying to say about Rurik, there was one Russian researcher who actually died already from, I don't know, cancer or something. And he went to that island from where supposedly Rurik came to Russia from. And that's just an island, just a rock in the sea with like maybe a couple of square feet of, area where you can actually stand on. And they suppose this is the island that they came from. And that island was actually put on the map only in 19th century. So, and he's like, it's no way they can come from that. But he found actually the island that they came from in Germany. And the whole bunch of Germany toponyms are actually Slavic and Indo-European type of origin, and all they can find in Germany, if they dig a little bit deeper, is somebody who was talking these Sanskrit languages and stuff like this.
Sanskrit.
Yeah, Sanskrit. If you decrypt Sanskrit, it's actually decrypted by itself. That's how it's translated if you translate it literally. So it's abbreviation also. Anagram, I would say.
An anagram. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Really? Or like an acronym?
Okay, let's go through the questions, guys.
Yeah, I want to say too one thing.
Can you hear me?
I think, yeah, I can hear you for sure.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, it's not Venetian. Go on. Venetian is different than Phoenician, and in the mainstream there were Phoenicians in the historical record of what you'd say academia will say there was a Phoenician culture that originally comes from the land of or from Canaanite, and I believe in Israel or in that area, and they were Phoenician. We're not talking about Venetian like Venice from Rome, Italy. We're talking about Phoenicians. And yes, we're distinguishing from what Philipp is saying, because in the mainstream academia of reference, there was a Phoenician culture that did stem from the land of Canaanite, Khan, I believe, and they migrated from there down to the northern Africa, Carthage, and stuff like that. So it's not Venetian, it's Phoenician, and that is a historical culture that did allegedly found Carthage and stuff, and they went up into southern Europe as well. So yeah, and they stem from what is now Israel. So it's not Venetian, it's Phoenician.
Yeah, Palestine and Lebanon.
Allegedly,
and Lebanon. It's not,
allegedly, Philip. I know everyone likes to call them old Phoenician, but I think there's another common thread here, and I say common thread with pun intended, because also this is in mainstream literature, academia, that Phoenician red is Tyrian purple. That's one of the Tyrian purple that the Roman emperors and Caesars wore is literally Tyrian. It's called Tyrian purple, but also Phoenician red is that same color purple. It's the same thing. So I don't think that it's actually the culture. I think that it is the religion that came through, not the culture, because they say everything was burned and there's no more Phoenicians. That's their mainstream. That's in the History Channel will tell you that. I've watched a documentary on that. I think it's on Timeline about the crazy sacrifices of the Phoenician culture. But I think the culture may have died out, but the religion stayed. And when I say common thread, the common thread is the Phoenician purple, which is Tyrian purple. So that's why Caesars used and wore the Tyrian purple, because it's a nod to that. In my opinion, could it be that I think that the Tyrian purple that the Caesars wore in Rome is a nod to that religion of the Phoenician purple, Phoenician red. And Phoenician red is purple. Same color as Tyrian purple. And that's why I kind of put that together also. Very interesting.
Our thoughts on Armenia and Armenian people. Have you researched on Armenian people?
No, I have not, but they would be in that Ottoman Empire area of Persia. I would say that they're they're within that sphere of influence. I haven't researched them specifically. Have you?
Well, there is a couple of points of view on that, and the first one is actually that is presented by those who right now, a Muslim countries people, and so-called Turkish, for example, people, and Azerbaijan people. And what they have on that point is that actually Armenians were brought to the area of current inhabitants in the 17th and 18th century from Persia. But what I have researched is that actually the Armenians could be the people that were living in Urartu, that ancient kingdom that was even, found many castles and, city remains and all those ruins of cities, and all the lead to Urartu, and also, as I've been saying, about the city of Urat in Sumerian lands in Iraq.
Ancient
so
Sumer, yeah.
that could probably also be these Caucasian Indo-European civilization people of Urartu, which could be divided in a couple of different nationalities, like Persians, Sumerians, and because Samaritans were in the Bible also, and they were living in the northern Israel, parts of Palestine, and so on. And so I think Armenians have their cultural heritage as way to these biblical times, and they probably before that, as many more nations. I was going to say,
yeah, they're a strong culture. I was going to just say, yeah, to underline that, yeah, I would definitely think that the Armenians, because they've been around for a very long time and they have a very strong culture.
I mean, being brought from Persia, and those evidence of being brought from Persia, and we have that evidence actually.
Strong warriors, warrior culture, yeah. Definitely.
Russian ambassador was killed in Tehran during it was 1826 something, and for his death, the Persian Empire gave the Russian Empire those lands of Armenia, current Armenia, and Azerbaijan. So that was given to Russia for this death of Russian ambassador. And they say he was set up by those, who were fighting with Armenian influence in Persian Empire. And that's why those Armenian tribes and, people were sent way back to Caucasus, where Russian Empire got their lands. So that's also true, because we have all those documents are available, and you can see. But that doesn't mean they came from to nowhere. Probably some of them left there before, and maybe some relatives were living there at the time that they arrived. So this is like Armenians also can go to Russia and way back to their lands after some certain time. For example, right now they are living in Russia for 100 years. And they can say they lived there for 100 years. Why not? But they can return to their land in Armenia. They can return to they can live in Los Angeles, right? So it's just, the question of mobility and local, spread of people, those migration waves, I don't say.
That's interesting. Like you were saying, like how they try to mix up of everybody so you don't know where you are, right? And how to trace your lineage back, like we were talking about previous to the cast. And it's like a tactic that they use. It's similar to the whole space thing, whatever. We're flying through blackness. You don't know where you are because there's no reference point. Now, to go back to what you were saying about the Armenians, and to underline that, yeah, it's a very strong culture because you still have it and you can still reference it, right? Even though it has been spread out. And like you said, you can go to in Los Angeles or into Russia, but you still have that we're still Armenian. Right.
Yeah, of course, that's and they can return. They can return from anywhere, and that's okay. You cannot just say they weren't living there if they returned to the place they were living before.
Right. That's characteristic of a strong culture too, and keeping it. What would you say in group preference? Has nothing to do with being ostracizing of other races or anything. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's the reason why cultures exist and go forward, is because of in-group preference, and that's why the Armenian culture is strong. Or, for example, the Polish culture, or the Mexican culture.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And you can say if somebody from Russia goes to San Francisco, it doesn't mean that they just visiting it. They can go to San Francisco as the place where Russians lived before, because it was a Russian city, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
History is very painful for those who just, trying to play this national card. It's always a lost situation. You always lose if you play the national card. You have to research more, guys, to, claim something. And I always research both sides, those who say for and those who say against. Why not? It's just like I was trying to talk about the stealing of the presidency. This, article. I'm gonna put this article link in the chat so everybody can be acquainted with that. it literally says that what I'm trying to say, that people don't have the information from the other side. And this article shows they were taken poll from the people who voted for Biden, and asked them if they knew that or this or that fact that wasn't presented in the media that we were following. And just read this article, and meanwhile you understand what I'm saying. So if you don't have the other side of information, you probably won't be deciding this or that way that you can, right? You can possibly do, because of the lack of information. And just that's what I'm saying from the day one. Do your own research, question everything, and don't have anything like an ideal person that you follow. Blind following is very bad. That's what I like in you, Dustin, because you follow all these different channels and you combine all this information in your head, and that's good. You have all this time to do that, and I like your enthusiasm, and probably that's one of the key to success, because while you have this enthusiasm wave and this spirit of research, you'll do a lot more than anyone before you, because most of the people who spend all this time on YouTube for years are kind of stuck in this swamp of current situation, all this business around, all this lockdowns, quarantines, and so on, and they just have lack of enthusiasm and have lack of inspiration to create new content. And the new people always bring new information and may overcome anyone, and skyrocket. Once in a while they do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Philip. It means a lot to me. I mean, because you're one of the first I've mentioned before that pioneered my way into this research and this field of investigative, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, to hear that from you, that it's motivating and inspiring to anybody, But thank you very much. I appreciate it, and it's I feel like I am obligated to, provide that for people that are interested, because I do have it in my city. So why not? Like the other day, I was just out. I got to make a video later on, maybe tomorrow, guys. I'm sorry about that, but it might be out tomorrow. And you mentioned that. I'm glad that I do have the time to do this. I do work full time also. I mean, this is kind of a part-time thing for me. I wish I had more time, but I put as much as I possibly can, and I'm very passionate about it. And I really think that there's something to it, because I have the history background that I do, and it's one of my strong points. So again, thank you very much for those kind words. That's inspirational to me, and hopefully to everybody else who is a fan of what I do. It's not that hard to do it. I initially was just putting a phone up to my, leaning it on a book and trying to get the camera or the computer screen in focus to show you guys what I'm seeing from stuff that I watched on Philipp's channel. Eventually started realizing, oh my goodness, I had this stuff in Buffalo. And then slowly started, bleeding out these videos. And it's kind of like a dream come true, honestly. So I'll keep on doing it, because I have there's so much stuff here. So yeah, thanks again. And I will keep providing content for everybody and just throwing stuff out there. I like to, I guess I say, shoot from the hip when I'm doing my thing. If I'm driving down the street, even, it's kind of like what I like to call it bushwhacking, because if I'm driving and I see something that I like, I'll get out, and you know how that is. You do that too. It's kind of where I got you. We walking around the Kremlin and stuff like that. It's fascinating that Russia is, and how much I always loved it. The fact that I'm talking to you, and the ambition that I have. I pretty much sent you an email, Philip. That's all it takes for people that are watching this. If you have the ambition, sometimes all you got to do is just send that email. You could send me an email. You could, it's that's all it takes. Or getting out your door and taking your phone with you and leaning it up on a paperweight and pointing it at your computer.
There's a question on Palestine. Let me bring it to the screen. The land was renamed Palestine after Rome conquered Judea and renamed it Palestine to disrespect Judea, because the Philistines were Judea's sworn enemies.
see what happens with all this stuff. Like, it's all back and forth. How does anyone know? Like, it underlines what you were just saying. How do you really? Where's your reference point? I know with the Bible and like the all the good books. I practice my Christian faith or whatever, but there's certainly no judgment. And can you imagine the strife
I
that
think
I have?
I think the Palestine, if you literally translate it, it's like a burned land from the ancient language. So if you look at it, it actually could be burned, because we have this Sodom and Gomorrah story, right? That was happening closely to the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea toponym is very, interesting itself. Dead Sea, right?
For sure.
So there was a huge civilization, and it's easily can be proven if you come to Jerusalem and go to the temple, right? To the temple area, you find out that below that there's a huge blocks, just like you have in Baalbek, and a whole bunch of people, just made a bunch of videos on that. If you haven't watched that, just go ahead and check it out. There's a whole bunch of huge blocks there, and it's all, a huge technological construction. It's not just simply religious temple or something. And that's why so many religions want to be there, have this area, this temple as affiliate area. Muslims want to do that, Christians want to do that, Judaizers want to do that, and so everybody want this land. So it's a land of fight, and we will never know the truth about it, because it's just unimaginable, numerous editions about the history, and the winners always rewrite it. So I hope we know if that is true, and it was renamed by Romans. But the Romans themselves, they probably appeared only in the medievals, when they were, made up by those who imagined this empire of Holy Romans, this German, origin empire that was actually conquered all the world. If you know that you were saying that the British Empire was the largest empire, but the kings of Britain, the royalty of Britain, is German. So
per the mainstream, yeah, I get that. Yeah, they changed their name. So, the Windsor House changed
and the
their name.
Anglo-Saxons themselves, where did they came from? They came
Philipp,
from Germany.
What did they change their name from? Did the Windsor House change their name from the Habsburgs?
Windsors were only in the end of 19th century. They appeared from
right,
because they changed the name.
When I said that, though,
Goggenzollers, not Habsburg, Oldenburg, Goggenzoller, something bloodline.
I'm not 100% sure, but when I say that the British was the largest empire spanning territory, that's what it is in your high school textbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Mongols on land, the Mongolian Empire, right? Let me. Can you screen share now? Because you mentioned a couple times, and I want ancient and the Ziggurat of Ur. And there's a short video that I did, and this is on a. Are you screen sharing?
No, I don't know what to screen share actually.
Hold on. Do I? Share screen. Okay, here we go. Share this one. Share.
Okay.
So this is that's the Ziggurat of Ur, where you were talking about, the ancient city into the old capital of Sumeria.
Yep.
Now, in my opinion, and I put this out in this video, that's direct evidence right there of a mud flood. What do you think of that?
Well, it was excavated. I don't know how it looked before, so you have to scroll through those pictures that were painted by those who came first, because the first who came were just painters. Then you have photographs in the beginning of 19th century. It's like maybe 1940s, 1950s, or 1840s, 1850s, right? The first photographs came, and I don't know when they started excavations. Probably late 19th century, right?
Interesting. So, that's a good point, and I didn't even think of that. It does look like flow to me, though. That's why I say it, because it does look like flow, and then run off like there was a plane, and then something came over it. It doesn't look like sediment to me. And on the backside of it,
I just watched the study from Yale, and they have. I probably send you a link a little bit later.
But that's all censored
in the description.
Did you just say Yale? How dare you?
Very interesting study.
Why are you still screen sharing?
Yeah.
Watch. Okay, now boom.
You are.
On the backside. Okay, on the backside of it, it goes away from it too, like it just was centralized there. To me, it almost looks like maybe liquefaction, because this thing up here, you know, it kind of looks like it was looks like flow to me. So let me go back and stop screen sharing.
We just have to, you know, scroll through the pictures of the first people who came there and then make this, you know, this or that decision about the place. But actually, if they were excavating it, right, and if it was buried like this, just imagine how many landscape or all this soil they have to take out. There's no way they could have done that. So that probably was just a hill, and they excavated, scrubbed something from the hill. So somebody probably poured, somebody probably poured a bunch of mud on the top, and then it just, you know, buried, and this building became a hill. So was what I was saying, just trying to hide the evidence of somebody. If you have a river nearby, it easily can be done by dredger. So just pour the holes on the top, and just, you know, dredging solution of mud and water just comes through the hose from pumps. Just easily done in 19th century, 17th century. They were doing the same with the pumps, and you know, when the pumps were actually invented, miners were using pumps every time. This is miners' technology. Pumping something is a miner technology, guys.
They call that hill, they call the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the hill. It's on a hill where they allegedly excavated that structure that's older than Stonehenge, allegedly, in Turkey. Are you familiar?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Right. So Göbekli Tepe, I believe, actually translates to on a hill. So that's interesting. And yeah, we spoke about that before, that it would be easy because it's like a slurry. It's already a wet mix. If you can take that, and it seems like they were able to dredge, or at least knew how to make rivers, or like, you know, that with the Niagara River, they knew how to do something. And yeah, that's very interesting concept, Philip, that when you say that, because
if they could have built such buildings with such huge blocks,
it wouldn't be no
imagine
thing.
Where did they get all this, you know, resources for this concrete production? Concrete production is nothing else than the mud pouring in a certain, you know, encasing, and then mud just freezes and, you know, and petrifies into the concrete. So that's it. So is the red brick production. It's all created from the clay and mud. Yep. Okay. Have you seen the strange metal monolith in the Utah Desert? Yes, bunch of, you know, a whole bunch of BS posts about it, and it's already disappeared. If you're not following it, it disappeared, and a pyramid appeared on this place. Just so I'm not really, you know, hyping on that. I think it's a BS from the day one. So those who were engaged in this.
They found it on video. They found where it was. They found where it was, and it's made of sheet metal. It's not like it wasn't like a monolith. Like it wasn't solid. It was sheet metal, so it was kind of like flimsy. Yeah, and it wasn't
thin metal.
Yeah, it was like stainless steel, I think, and it wasn't solid. It was made out of sheet metal. It was probably just covered in sheet metal, and you could see where they did cuts in the actual thing, and they actually overcut a little bit, and it was done. It was done nice and square, but they overcut their cuts with the saw a little bit, so a little sloppy. So I believe that was debunked, but it was interesting. Yeah, who would do it out in the middle of nowhere? Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah, and of course, it's just an installation. It's
underground military base. Dumb.
If you take we have this joke. Herring. We have this little joke in Russia since the 90s. 90s were the years of my youth, and if you take a crap under somebody's door and ring the bell, the person steps out and sees the crap. That's an installation. If you cover it with the newspaper and burn it and ring the bell, and he steps out, that's a performance, because he's supposed to, put the fire down with his feet. So this is the art. This is just an art, guys. Nobody was actually discovering any monoliths there. Just putting this crappy BS story into the how
That's
they
hilarious.
call it, spray the shit on the fan or something, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When shit hits the fan. Yeah.
Yeah,
When shit hits the fan. Yeah.
that's
And no, we have
also
that.
performance.
Yeah, we have that in our culture too, where you throw a bag of shit on the old man's porch and light it on fire. So when he comes out and steps on it, yes, yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
So yeah, there you go, cultural
artist
diffusion, man.
people, just those bohemian people, bohemian artists called performance. You know that
How
guy
dare
who
you?
was actually stabbing his balls into the with the nails into in
Oh,
the red square. Have you seen that guy?
I don't want to see that guy.
Then he was, liberal media was,
No, no.
claiming him a hero and being oppressed by the regime of Putin, who actually got him arrested for that. And then they took that guy to France, and he set up one of the banks in Paris on fire. The door was set on fire, and then they arrested him, and then he became the criminal. That performance doesn't hit them, anymore.
Oh, he was so brave to do that. I'm sure he has no rights to be protected, right? Not the fact that he's a complete psychopath. Whatever. I would not even want to have. I wouldn't.
That's an artist.
That.
That's an artist's destiny. Somebody claims you an artist. Somebody claims you a criminal, man.
Well, there's something to be said
Starfort.
about that, about the theater and with art. I think that's a swindle in the whole art world and modern art. I wonder what your take on that is, and I think it's I don't want to say this on international lines. The whole modern art thing, where $1 million paid for some little painting of a cube, like it's money laundering, straight up.
Of course. What about Starforts, guys? We had a story recently in the Sochi region, which is like a Caucasian region, northern Caucasus of Russia, and Sochi has somebody created a Starfort monument for the people who were actually having Starfort back in the days in the 19th century. And that Starfort was protecting the area from the local tribes that were attacking it from time to time. And new people, new mentality, I would say. So they came to that place and started to break the monument the day after it was put in the place. Just like you had in 2014 when the people started to ripping apart the monuments and just taking them down because they were Confederate monuments. So the Starfort monument was taken down just like a Confederate monument in the United States, just because of this, system that they think the Starfort people were, abusing the people that were living there.
Yeah. Let me ask you though, Philip. Was it more of a monument, or was it for a practical use? Like
it was exactly the Starfort shaped, emblem, like a little monument.
Oh,
emblem
okay. So
of Starfort, and the tablet was written for what Starfort and who was the Starfort period existing in this place, just like the place where Starfort was before, and they put this monument of the Starfort.
And that was defaced?
It was taken down. Just completely ripped apart. And the government couldn't do crap because they paid a bunch of money to put to put the monument first, and then they demolished it, and that's it. Because the people were so vulnerable about this topic, just like you have on racism and Black Lives Matter stuff. Just the same narrative. Taking down the monument for that stuff.
Oh, but my feelings. That's ridiculous. That's disgusting to me.
So now you know, guys, why Starforts are being covered as a narratives, and just because it reminds somebody about these colonial times when all those miners were mining the area and taking all these resources from all those indigenous Aboriginal people and trading it.
And knocking down the trees, chopping the big old trees down.
Yeah, we have this narrative right now. Just remember this Avatar movie where the local indigenous people, actually took over and those miners were kicked out. And some of them just, collaborated with the indigenous Aboriginal people. And that was presented as good, trading your own people, swinging the sides to the locals.
But then they use it for their advantage later on in the narrative,
Of course.
Big time, yeah. BS.
So this is how it goes. Miners are becoming bad. The narrative of ancient miners and ancient technologies will always be discredited by those who own the religion narrative, those who own the political and media narrative. Just read the article that I put in the comments, and you understand what I'm talking about. Unless the Republican Party, unless this opposing Republican Party, if it is existing anymore, if it does exist, it still exists, they're supposed to take these lessons and create these new media types, new media platforms that's going to be owned by the Republican people, because otherwise that was the last elections that they actually have this competence level where their candidate grabs more votes than the previous highest results of the previous president of Obama, right? So this is like, and Reagan. And that guy is actually losing to somebody who doesn't even have anybody on his rallies except maybe 100 people visiting him. So just read that article, you understand. So those media block of information is what they have in history, and literature is also edited. Somebody's also asking me about literature. Where's the reference in literature of this? Where's the reference in literature on that? Have you read the literature? It's so boring sometimes. But this is source code Nigma in Google, where you can find the references to certain keywords in the different books. And if you want to see any reference to pre-flood, mud flood, flood, and other keywords that could, bring you to this research, just go to that search platform in Google, and you find out so many sources, guys. They were, of course, edited, but you can read them with other, mentality that you have right now with being informed of all this information. And you can understand that there's a bunch of reference, actually.
That's a good point. You know what, Philip? Because, you were hinting at this earlier about listening to the other side, also incorporating that into your assessment of everything. Because for everybody that's listening right now, Philip, just if you were paying attention, Philip was just pointing out stuff that was contrary to what I put out in my video. Am I sitting here being like, oh my God, are you kidding me? No, you take it in and you assess it, and it's new information. And me sitting here now, I'm not holding myself to the fire for something that I believe. If I'm presented with new information, I'm perfectly okay with updating my my own assessment of things. And also a good analogy of that is like taking the 100,000 foot view, where you can kind of step back from everything and see everything. And then at that level, especially when you're able to take some constructive criticism of a different opinion, you're exponentially above the next person who's not able to do that or operate through life or within this research like that, who's dogmatic in the sense of it's this way or the highway. And now, I have respect for everybody and all their plights and all their own individual endeavors. But in order to push what we're doing forward, Philip, I appreciate what you said about what I do about getting boots on the ground, but I do have an open mind to everything. And I guess I'm kind of easygoing, and it's kind of my nature, and I'm very idealistic about that. But I'm also very, steadfast and matter of fact about this research, and that's why I made that example in my last video about what you brought up previous to this when we were talking about earlier about that theoretical physicist that I cited. Because they cite, they say out of their own lips verbatim. I cited Alan Guth and used the inflationary model because that's a vital component of the Big Bang theory. But I'll also cite another theoretical physicist who's actually more mainstream, is Michio Kaku. Now, you look up astronomy and mainstream astronomy, you have Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku. And he's on record saying out of his own mouth that theoretical physicists don't use the scientific method, and that's, I think, key to just, pure science, observation, repetition, and, being able to repeat it under different circumstances.
Comparison.
Yeah. So for a theoretical
Comparison is
physicist,
one of the
right, they put
one
that
of the
stuff
best
out there.
methods in science is comparison.
Exactly, and effectively, you're doing it. It's a process of elimination. You're not saying anything definite, and that's why I'm very keen on saying I'm not making any claims or charges. If I do, I kind of catch myself and say, "Could it be?" But they do. They actually put it in textbooks and say that in order to get this degree, you have to learn this. Meanwhile, I've researched inflation. I was waiting for them to find the Higgs boson at CERN, waiting for the applications that were going to be derived from that, and just nothing. So their science doesn't add up to me with the capital S. And that's where it kind of gets into the scientism stuff. That's kind of what I was trying to lay down with that. Because what we're doing, number one, people can contribute. It's interactive. You might have this stuff in your city, and you don't have to have a theoretical scientist telling you that we don't believe in the scientific method, but, inflation, dark matter, dark energy, they're a thing. It's like, I don't think so. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to be based on such heavy constructions as dark matter or any other terms, but what I actually do agree with people is that you have to do, related and or be based on some scientific research, at least. Because if there were no scientists ever who claimed the same as you trying to research, then definitely you're losing your time, wasting your time on some illusionary subject. Somebody, sometimes, 19th century, 17th century was talking already about it. And if you go and research on Tartaria, you probably find a bunch of evidence in 16th century when Marco Polo, or he was an official person, right? He was traveling to Tartaria and he was describing all those people. He was drawing them, painting them. Of course, that information was edited while centuries passed, but he was there, and he's officially recognized. And you can go to the scientists who research Marco Polo and take their research as something you can be based on to do your comparison research with what you find. And this is where you actually can, find the rational point of view while comparing what you find and what they found. That is the best way to present the evidence, actually. Not just pointing something in the screen, but, basing it that somebody else did before you, maybe a century ago, maybe 50 years, maybe 30 years ago, or something that you can find in archives in your local area, maybe newspapers, maybe some anomalies in artifacts that we found in some cities of Russia when people occasionally started to print the newspapers by handwriting. That's quite an anomaly. And we suppose that period to be the possible period of the flood, right? A possible period of the cataclysm in that area. Okay? Are you with me?
Oh, I'm with you. Yep, 5x5.
Something wrong with the connection, I think. Guys, write me in the chat if everything's okay with connection. If you can hear
good.
us.
I hear you.
Greetings from New Orleans, LA. I found mud flood evidence here as well. And yes, it's ridiculous how much the Marxist elites have dominance over the mainstream narrative. Sickening.
Well, we're hoping to change that.
I totally agree.
We're effectively working. Yeah, we're definitely agree, and we're working to change that with doing what we're doing and pushing this. That's why we need all the help we can get and stuff like that. So if this inspires you, yeah, we are right now actively working to combat what he just wrote down. And I want to say too, to cycle back to what you said about dark matter, dark energy. All I was saying with that, Philip, is those are other examples of effectively constructs in astronomy that are used to fill something that they don't know. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson is on stage saying 75% of the observable universe is dark energy, but we don't know what it is. But we're going to tell you about everything else, but we don't know what that is. So what they see, they can't explain, so they add things like dark matter, but they can't explain what dark matter is because they can't see it or measure it. They don't know what dark energy is because they can't see it or measure it. But it's definitely there because it looks like it's there. So just believe us, though. That's kind of what I was saying with that. Or inflation. It looked like this happened, so just believe us, you know? And I'm like, no. Do not pass go here. Yeah, that's not science.
There's no science anymore. It's just fairy tales. They agree on because they get paid for to keep the system going for most exploitation of the human race. Yeah, the budgeting of the science is very, good question. And sometimes some scientists are, some genius scientists don't get the budgeting, don't get the finances for their research, right? We have many examples of that, many examples of reminiscing their inventions in the future, when everybody is dead, all the offsprings are dead, nobody's getting any money on the patients anymore, patent or whatever you call it.
And the people they put out in front of you,
inventions, and renovating these patents and creating several similar patents on sub patents and so on, and nobody gets the money after all. Only those who have been budgeted by the corporations, and that's it.
I have some advice for anybody who's trying to make a free energy machine. Do your thing. Just don't try to patent it. More power.
Yeah, do it for your home uses, for your domestic use.
Take care of your neighbors and stuff like that. No one's going to care. Just don't try to patent it and mass produce and wholesale it and sell it because, yeah, what was I going to say? I forgot.
And there was a question about it is happening all the time everywhere. Mammoth can be made also from mining. Also, you can sink from that. Yeah, of course.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Of course. There is a city of Almaty in Kazakhstan, the biggest city of Kazakhstan actually, and it's located in a mountain area. And all this area has these gas bubbles underneath, those empty bubbles of nothing actually. So gas bubbles, and everybody is just trying to predict when this city is gonna get sunk in this huge sinkhole.
Interesting. Yeah, like those gas bubbles they have in Siberia that are making those sinkholes.
Oh, very, very huge gas bubbles. It's an ocean of hot water, which is like 110 degrees Celsius, higher than the boiling temperature of water for 10 degrees Celsius. It's almost impossible in our physical world, but it is actually scientifically proved, as what they say. They drilled a bunch of holes and they found this huge ocean, which has a lot more water than the Pacific Ocean. It's so deep.
I think it's infinite or cycled. It's cycled
and
through.
So they're trying to make up a decision how to use this hot water underneath, because it's really a good source of energy. And have you heard about Gaddafi, who found a whole bunch of water underneath Libyan deserts of Saqqara and so on?
Yeah.
Just before he was assassinated. And he was trying to planning to agriculture all this area and water supply everything in this
Libyan I heard that from you.
Egyptian lands. No. I was never making video on that. I was just maybe mentioning in some chat, but you ain't so lucky to come through all my chats, so probably you haven't seen it from me.
No, so I heard somebody talking about that, and I just thought it was you. Maybe it was somebody else, but yeah.
Well, it's a well-known fact. It's just
also,
as well-known as he
didn't have the bank.
His money that's suspended right now.
He was trying to use that as his bargaining chips, I believe, because they don't have they didn't have a central bank in Libya until they that whole operation, whatever. So yeah, I think that he was trying to actually use that as leverage, and then they were like, "No, you don't."
Who's Owen Benjamin? I don't know actually.
You should invite
You
Owen
know
Benjamin
Owen
to the
Benjamin?
chat. If he wants to come, he'll come.
Who is
Do I
he?
know him?
What
He's
he?
a comedian. That's
Comedian.
yeah. That's why I have my Berserker bear name. Just so everybody
I
knows,
bet we.
and I'll put it out. Yeah, anybody who's curious as to my bear name, that's because I'm unbearable fan of the comedian Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin. That's my bear name. That's where it comes from. But we'll get that out in the air. Boom. Also, Philip, I do think I'm curious as to your thought on this, because I know you dropped the name earlier. I do think some of the buildings do look melted to me. You know, some of them do look like they might have been melted. Not all of them. I definitely don't think all of them. Definitely don't think all of them. But it looks like some of them might have been.
I
And
can,
I just think of like the reason why I say that too, and why I think that, Philip, and I want you to hear this. I want to know what you have to say about it, is because the stuff that went on with like the Paradise fires, and it seems like they may have some kind of tech that could do it, But I'm not going to die on the hill of saying that everything is, because I also think that some of it is big. I do believe, my opinion, that some of it looks melted, some of it looks like it's like fossilized giants, man, or fossilized titans. I'm not, again, what you said earlier, I try to grab from everything, and I'm not dying on any one single hill, and I'm not taking anything off the table. And I think you understand where I'm coming from with that. What do you think?
We call it putting the eggs in the different caskets, so you won't break all the eggs if you fall down or something. You want to bring all these eggs safe, you have to put them in different bags at least. What I think about melting, I have two videos on that. So I was saying, like, perhaps some could be melting, but I haven't seen enough evidence to say that or claim that a lot of them were melted or a few of them were melted. I probably can mention one or two good pictures that could be presenting something that looks like melting. But if you dive a little bit deeper, you understand that once you melt the rock, it becomes vitrified, and there's no way you can change that. After it cools down, it's becoming this shiny, polished, stuff that's look like in glass, melted glass, or some baked glass, I would say.
Northern Scotland has
and it looks vitrified.
Yeah,
I have a video about that and a whole bunch of those so-called vitrified forts in Scotland and many more. And that star fort that's in Russia is called Zverev Star Fort, Zverev Fort near St. Petersburg. Yeah, that was also one of the examples that John Levy presented in his video about melted buildings. But
Philip, what's the name of the
trying
place
to say
in
that
Scotland? Newgrange?
Zverev Fort.
Is it Newgrange, Scotland?
Tens and tens of those forts.
They look like they're
glass.
They look like it's stone, but it's actually glass.
They just called melted stone. Just
okay. Let me define
rocks in Scotland, and you find a bunch of those examples.
Vitrified. So people that are listening, vitrification is where something that is stone, it looks like it's been turned to glass. Okay, and it looks like it's stone at first, but it's like
heated. It's a very heated rock or stone that turned to be like a fluid, and when it's it's cooling down, it's becoming vitrified. So that's how the nature works. You cannot change that. If you melt something, it becomes vitrified. Period.
And it looks like glass. It looks like a shiny glass.
And it looks like a shiny furnace stuff, I would say.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, I forget the name of the place in northern Scotland, but there's a lot of forts that just look like they've been glossed over with like lacquer, but it's straight up vitrification.
If you look on something and claim that it is melted, it could be not melted. It could be liquid.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
and then it dries out and becomes petrified, and it
Right.
becomes like something that will actually flow in, and it looks this kind of way, but it's not melted, right? So melted is also heated and liquid, and becomes vitrified.
Another a good example of that, another channel like the mud fossil guy, Roger, he explains that process, and it kind of lends credence to the things being wet and buried and being massive bodies, that were buried, then vitrified or fossilized, mud fossilized effectively.
He's talking about petrified, not vitrified is glass, petrified is stone. So petrified, he's talking about petrified bones.
Well, yeah, it's
and,
specifically different.
and
It's
petrified
specifically different.
muscles, petrified tissues, everything that's kind of petrified. And he is a biologist, I suppose. I don't know if he actually is, but
I guess so. Yeah, I guess
he
so.
kind of
Yeah,
compares.
I wasn't comparing
What I was
same.
saying about comparison research, he's comparing this and that, and he finds all these clues and hints that could be claimed as evidence. Why not, actually?
Right, exactly. That I think he is good with his work that he contributes, like with the Titans and stuff, and how they could be. Yeah, I wasn't trying to compare. Maybe I got confused. The vitrification process of how it turns to like glass. I was trying to say how Roger explains how things that get covered in mud and are wet can actually turn into that. Yeah, petrified. Yeah. Right. And that might be petrification. A petrified tree kind of could look maybe a little similar to a vitrified
Stone.
rock. Yeah, they have that like glassy,
you're talking
like
about
mineral
red. You're talking about red trees. Red trees can look like a shiny diamond type of a ruby
like
type
amber
of
type.
Amber.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was explaining. I wasn't making they're not the same thing. They're definitely not the same thing.
Talking about Roger and his takes on the speculations and what he was trying to say, when he's talking about real objects, real rocks, and comparing microscopic structures and tissues of what he found in biology, that's very great story. But when he is trying to look on the Google Maps and finding somebody like a dragon, or I don't know, this is very questionable and speculative from my point of view. If something looks like a huge animal or dragon from the Google Google Earth or something, it's definitely not the dragon or anything. But
interesting. Yeah, you have to consider the source.
In the case of Stellium-7, that's the only case right now, the working case, when he actually explored the head of this elephant and elephant type of structure. That is quite another story, because he was with his boots on the ground, right? And that elephant rock had a cave system that was one of the most researched and had all this 3D mapping inside and all these graphics, and how it's the most researched cave system in Europe, is what he claims, and I was actually confirming that too. So if that is the type of research, that is good. But if you point in the screen and something that looks like a dragon or vagina, that's a speculation, right? And I'm not for that. That's what I'm not accepting from Roger, and that's why I don't follow him anymore, because at a certain point I'm started to be okay with what he was trying to present with biology, but when he's trying to multiply this research to the Google Earth and the other picture speculations, I just quit that stuff, because that was not interesting for me at that point. And I don't have any much time to watch everybody, speculations. Only my friends.
Honestly, I'm the same. I don't have all the time. You know what? But that's such a great point. But I have a video where I use Google Earth to show what I think is a possible fossilized dragon egg, or some kind of huge egg. That said, I completely understand what you're saying, because you have to consider the source of what you're using. You're using Google Earth, and they're wrapping, the whole thing around a globe. I don't believe that. In my opinion, I don't believe that, number one. So how could you actually believe what you're seeing on Google Earth if it looks like a dragon? Obviously, you're talking about Roger's pet dragon in northern Africa. of course. Right?
Perhaps there were many dragons actually.
Every three and the eastern coast of America. It's fascinating to me. I don't throw it out with the bathwater. I don't,
No,
and I
no,
do
no,
understand
no.
what you're saying though about because I don't think he believes in the globe theory too, and it's like Roger. It's like what you're saying that the thing's way too big for the system of the globe to be able to support it. If
Of
it's like
course.
a flat plane like we think, then okay, now we're talking. But I think what the point you're trying to make is you can't trust Google Earth, and it's a very good point.
You have to be on
I
the
don't think,
ground.
yeah,
My
I don't
point
think
is
you can smear
not
everything
just
though. You
yeah.
can't smear it all. You might catch some stuff through it. And again, let me lay down and underline and also plug Stellium 7 because yeah, that was the work that he did on. It's called Montgo, MONT.
Mango, yeah.
Yeah, and GO, southern Spain. It's near the Rock of Gibraltar. You're hard pressed to dissuade me away from that. That's not a fossilized massive Titan elephant. I believe that that's definitely a fossilized Titan, and I think that he nails it out of the firmament with that.
It's either the
documentary.
fossilized Titan. It's either the fossilized Titan, or somebody made hell of a job to make it look like one, right?
Boom, boom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Do you understand permafrost was a part of the flood?
Permafrost.
Yeah,
What's more
permafrost.
as far as permafrost, like topsoil that's being frozen over
No,
one
no, no,
season?
no. It's just the landscape in the area, the huge area in Siberia, northern parts of Eurasia, and a huge part of Canada.
Well, yeah. What defines permafrost though is topsoil being frozen for over two seasons, right? So that's the permafrost, and they say. But that's interesting.
I
though.
think the guy means the situation with the mammoths. Also, when you find the
Oh
mammoth
yeah,
meat and it's still fresh,
right.
and the
Yeah.
scientists claim it to be like hundreds and thousands of years before.
Okay.
How
Right.
could it be fresh? I just watched a video that's called Genesis 2.0 in Russian documentary about mammoth bone production. A new one actually, and you can find it in Google. It's pay-per-view video. So it's just talking about the people who go to the Novosibirsk Islands, Novosibirian Islands in the Arctic Ocean, and hunt, just not hunt, but research the area and find those mammoth bones, and then sell it to Chinese people who come to Russia and buy those bones. And that's the way of life for those people. That's the way to spend to earn the money, because once in a while they find a huge, very good condition mammoth bones, and they sell it for a couple of thousands of dollars to those Chinese people. And Chinese masters, those artists, create these sculptures and little ornaments on them. That's very huge interesting level of culture. Yeah, and they sell it for tens and hundreds and thousands of dollars, depending on the quality of the bone. Actually, all this ivory, they call it ivory. They buy it as ivory, but actually it's mammoth bone.
You wanna know something that's crazy, Philip? That's actually the wow. My next show that I'm gonna do, and where I went, that's a stone throw away from my house in Buffalo, is the Wood and Brooks Company, which was the leading producer of ivory piano keys in the world.
Yeah, I've seen you announced it in the last video. So they made these things in the piano from ivory.
Yeah, the keys, the white keys.
The keys. Yeah.
I guess originally, yeah. And unless don't quote me on that, because I'm not I'm not definitely not any type of a piano guy. But I guess the original original keys were made out of ivory, I guess.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Right? So
elephants and mammoths are about the weight of limit for bone and muscles to support their weight.
I understand. I've heard that they wouldn't be able to hold their the weight of the organs wouldn't be able to be held in by the skin or the sinew and the tissue. I have a hard time with that because I think everything scales. Everything scales.
In that documentary that I was mentioning, the Genesis 2.0 Russian documentary about mammoth bones, they were finding a small mammoth perfect condition, one of the perfectest mammoths ever found in the world, and they put it in the museum. And so that's a perfect example that if there was a child mammoth, then it could it's a whole bunch of bones of a big mammoth. So probably they were living and could, reproduce and eat and be fed by the nature that was surrounding them. And so they inhabited the area because it was providing the food, enough food for them, and enough proteins and whatever minerals they wanted to have. Just imagine that's Arctic Sea, guys, Arctic Ocean, where the temperatures are just freezing. 9 months in the year, you don't have positive temperatures there in Celsius. So
that's another thing too, though, Philip. See, they can't wipe everything, and I think sometimes they might leave truth in there. As far as I know, I'm going back to Google Earth, and I'm trying to, not give it credence, but because I had in that same video where I show that there might be a fossilized dragon egg in Libya. Actually, wow, it's crazy in Libya. I also show like Elephant Island in the South Pacific in the Southern Ocean, Elephant Island, also Herd Islands. They look like elephants, man. They look like elephants. Now, Mont Go, it says in the Bible that there were elephants, or is there, I believe, a passage in the Bible that cites elephants, maybe in the Book of Eden. I should know this, but I don't. But I think that there were herds of massive elephants. What my point is that like the truth drop there in theater would be like J.R.R. Tolkien's Oliphants, not in the movie, but he talks about them in the books. Like, so yeah, they're, and I think they may have not been malevolent, I guess I should say, not used as weapons, but just like as elephants aren't really our friends now, but they seem to have some kind of memory of humans, the elephants that we have now in India and Africa. And I wonder if they carry a memory from those massive, their lineage, because, it looks like they were huge ones back in the day. It really does. It's just fascinating.
I think they just, other race of elephants, I would say, other species of elephants, just different ones. Those are hairy ones for the harder conditions of the northern, northern forests, northern landscapes, and northern climate, right? And the Indians are more for jungles and stuff like this. So
it's just absolutely fascinating.
Say that Indian and African elephants for Africa. So probably each country had its elephants, like. You can find mammoths in Canada and Alaska too, right? So probably North America also inhabited a bunch of elephants way before. Just like there were a bunch of buffaloes way before. And reminding you, city buffalo, By the way, you had a head of raiders. Now you have a buffalo.
You notice that? How dare you?
I was a big fan of raiders. Way before, and I was just, what, they moved to Las Vegas? I said, what?
Yeah. And I had this
went to Los Angeles.
I haven't watched a single game yet this year, to be honest with you. And Buffalo Bills are doing pretty good.
Buffalo Bills?
Yeah. But you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned. You're the only one that's mentioned my Raiders hat, Philip. I got that hat because back in the day, a real big thing. You want to talk about you mentioned the 90s back earlier. A real big thing in the 90s. I'm not sure if they had this over in your neck of the realm. But the starter jackets. Do you remember the starter jackets?
Yeah, leather jackets.
Yeah, they would have Bo Jackson.
Starter. You mean the starter, the coats starter. Yes. I had Denver Nuggets.
Okay, so that was at the time when Bo Jackson was real big for the Raiders, right? And me and my brother were big fans of Bo Jackson. Okay, and so that's why I always liked the Raiders, and I like the black and the silver.
I just like the Raiders because they were from LA, and because somebody, Dr. Dre, wore the hat. Somebody,
yeah, for sure.
That's what I like. Them.
Man.
I just I want to be playing for Raiders, and I was playing Madden football for Raiders always, guys.
Yeah.
And my brother was saying Raiders suck because he was always for Cowboys.
Dare him. That's great, man. Yeah, so that's my Raiders hat.
Cowboys ruled back in the days.
They beat us twice in the Super Bowl.
95.
Yeah, man, they beat the Buffalo Bills two times, man. 92, 93, I believe, or maybe 91, 92. Yeah. Troy Aikman. Oh boy, Emmitt Smith.
There was a good running back there. There was just a kick-ass running back. They had a fullback and a running back. Emmitt Smith. Yeah, there was.
We had a killer running. We had a killer running back too, Thurman Thomas. But he crushed too. He was. We had Thurman Thomas. We had Jim Kelly. We had Bruce Smith. We had Darryl Talley. We had Shane Conlon. We had a sick team, man. Sick. We should have won. We definitely should have won the first two against because we went 4 in a row, man. Buffalo Bills 4 in a row. Never happened again. And you know what? We're getting into football here, but New England Patriots can't top that ever because we went to 4 in a row. We didn't win one, but we went to 4 in a row.
Yeah, I'm. Anyways, I'm glad to finish in this topic. The Raiders don't suck anymore, and they can at least win somebody right now. Yeah. Thanks a lot for everybody in the chat. Let's just scroll through any questions. Any more questions here? You believe football but discount Google Earth. What's up? No, I don't believe football. I just used to watch it when I was.
I haven't watched one single game this year, but I have these hats, so I wear the hat. You know, I live in Buffalo.
Yeah, we're just talking about the hats, guys, and right now, current situation when people try not to favor somebody, they are fans of anything. Like you have Trump fans right now, you have Biden fans, you have BLM fans, and everybody's trying to be fan of something. I'm not a fan of anything except me and my research, right? So
exactly,
that's all I can say about fanning. I can be backing only my words. And if anyone contests in me or can argue with me, we can go ahead and do it and try to say who's right or wrong. I'm always open for discussion, and if any constructive critics can appear from you and anyone, Richard Lopez, whoever can go, we can even talk with Simon Den if he actually is brave enough to do that. So I don't care. If that is for the good, for a good constructive talk.
Moving the research forward, being professional, respectful.
Like we do today, right? So I was kind of, trying to debunk what you were saying actually, but that's only if you turn a prism a little bit different, you'll see another point of view. That's nothing difficult for anyone. We can do that. And I'm not trying to discredit anyone anytime. Just trying to present my point of view, and that's it. Okay.
Thanks for having me, Philip.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks everybody in the chat. Yeah. Follow Dustin, and the link is in the description. You can subscribe to his channel if you haven't. And thanks a lot. That was a good show today, almost 90 minutes. See you later, guys.
Oh, wow.
Bye.
Take care.